Do you know how awful it is for a man to have testosterone deficiency? Do you know when you get a testosterone level tested and it says a lab reference value and it says a testosterone for a man of 200 to 1,000 is normal? Honest to God? Do you know what a testosterone level of 200 is going to do? It's going to pretty much assure you that you're going to die of some chronic disease. When we talk about lab reference values, and this happens with women as well, when we're talking about testosterone levels and what is a normal range, not a normal range, what is a lab reference range of what's normal for a male and a female? Do you know that those ranges are developed based on people who are not using testosterone or hormone replacement therapy? So they'll say for us as a female, a testosterone level of 10 is great. Honest? Our testosterone level should be 150 to 250. Furthermore, a testosterone level for you at 200 puts you at a 41% increased risk of all-cause mortality. It doesn't matter what you develop. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, doesn't matter. You are at a 41% increased risk of dying from whatever that disease is because your testosterone level is low. So here's one thing that this is the one thing I wanted to draw because I like to draw. Here's a bell curve, and this is going to be more so for you. So let's look at a bell curve for a male, testosterone levels. Let's say we're going to say this is 200 at the low, and let's say this is 1100 here. All right, so let's take 50%, and let's say we're going to say this is 550. Remember, these are men that don't use testosterone, right? So 50% of men in this bell curve are going to have a testosterone level of 550. So now let's divide it into quartiles here. Do you know that in this range here, so now we're talking about, let's say, 200 to 400. Here you go. 41% increased risk of all-cause mortality because you are in that bottom quartile of testosterone. Why doesn't anybody talk about that? Because you know what? In men, we're going to tell you, oh my gosh, you can't use testosterone because we're going to give you prostate cancer. I challenge any urologist to talk to me about that because there is something called a prostate saturation model. And do you know, as a man, when your testosterone level is maybe 240, unless I'm going to try to get you to 1100, I'm not influencing your prostate at all. So by them saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to give you prostate cancer because your testosterone level is 1100, your prostate gland is already completely saturated with a testosterone level of about 230 to 250. I'm not affecting your prostate. I'm not increasing your PSA. I'm not doing any of that. So it's really, really interesting. This is not controversial just for females with hormone replacement therapy, but I go through this every day with the urologist. You cannot tell me that because I'm using bioidentical testosterone on a male that I'm going to increase his risk of developing prostate cancer. And guess what? Even if you have prostate cancer, I'm not increasing your risk of you having a recurrence of prostate cancer. Think about that. Remember we talked about levels and why women didn't develop breast cancer younger in our life? When you first learned what your penis was as a small child, how come you didn't have prostate cancer then, when your testosterone levels were raging? Why is it that we don't develop prostate cancer until we have very low levels of testosterone? Makes you scratch your head, right? So, if there's one thing that I'm going to teach you today, you better not be in this bottom quartile of testosterone, or else you are in big trouble, pal.
Are those results in typical blood tests? Because I know my PSA is good, but I don't know if they test for testosterone.
Of course they don't test testosterone. Do you think they care what your testosterone level is? No.
But your office does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we check them on everybody. And we start at a very young age. Remember this? 41% increased risk of mortality. Why would I want a young man in their 30s or 40s and they're just starting a family and all? Why would I want to increase his risk of death from any cause at a young age? So yeah, we're replacing testosterone in a lot of younger men. So anyway, that's it about men. So we already talked about the whole, positive effect of testosterone in women. We're not half crazy in the coconut. We don't have that menopausal fog. We can start to multitask again. That's amazing how that happens. Do you know it wasn't until my testosterone level was optimized until I realized, oh my God, I did have that menopausal fog that all these women have been talking about for a gazillion years. I didn't even realize I had it until my testosterone level was optimized. This was so funny. This is a cute story. And this was really about me when I first started bioidentical hormones. So it was probably about 2 weeks after. And remember, sleep deprivation was a big issue for me. I was lucky if I slept 2.5, 3 hours a night for 8 years. And so, sleep deprivation really does a number on your mind, right? But as women, what do? Well, I gotta work. What am I gonna do? I wanna take a nap? Well, it's too bad. I got 40 patients on my schedule today. It is what it is. Suck it up, buttercup, and go on. And so that's what I did really throughout my whole 40s. So it was funny. After I really started optimizing my hormones, and honest, this was a couple of weeks later, I wake up, number one, I'm still in bed. That was amazing. 5 o'clock, I'm still in bed. And my husband says, oh my gosh, you're still in bed? You're not, up and cleaning kitchen cabinets and doing charts and all that stuff? Because remember, 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to solve all the world's problems, right? Just laying there, and I figured I might as well just get out of bed, right? This is stupid just to lay here. Might as well be productive. So I told him, I said, this is amazing. Not only did I not look at the clock 53 times in the middle of the night, maybe it was 3 times, but I rolled over and I went back to sleep. Not to mention, I feel like all the gerbils got in there, cleaned out all my file folders, got rid of all of the unnecessary bullcrap that I didn't need anymore. And I said, I feel 10 pounds lighter in my brain. And what did my husband say? You're a kook. And I was like, well, thank God you don't have to really live through this. But this is what happens to a menopausal brain, right? So all of these things get better. We already talked about all of the nice benefits that you're going to get: improving cholesterol profile, body composition, HDL. You're not going to have increased levels of systemic inflammation and developing diabetes and heart disease and all of that stuff. I'm going to give you some nice protective benefits from replacing your testosterone. Oh, interesting thing too. Testosterone level less than 350 in a man pretty much guarantees you that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have that first morning flagpole. That goes away. You don't have that early morning erection out of bed anymore. You can already know that your testosterone is less than 350. Remember what happens less than 350? You're going to die of something, and you're not even going to remember that you're dying of something because you're going to have no short-term memory.
I guess that's good.
Maybe that is a good thing, right? And so you know, there's really, really great reasons of doing all that. We already talked about this. There is no effect on replacing your testosterone with using bioidentical testosterone on your risk of developing prostate issues, prostate cancer. In fact, we know now that with using bioidentical testosterone in a man, we will never raise your PSA more than 0.5 ever. Remember we talked about that prostate saturation model? It's not going to affect your PSA. There's a really world-renowned urologist. His last name is Morgenthaler. And he really is the pioneer of using testosterone in men with prostate cancer. He's at the forefront of taking men who have been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he's using bioidentical hormone to try to preserve their function, even though they have prostate cancer. And guess what? These men aren't dying of prostate cancer. That's amazing, right? They're actually pretty happy about that. This was his study, that it really doesn't affect the prostate gland whatsoever. So we already talked about all of that. So here was a nice study that he did as well. And even though it was a small study, it was 103 men that were diagnosed with prostate cancer that have undergone a radical prostatectomy. So their prostate is removed, they've had the whole radical prostatectomy thing done, and we were using bioidentical hormones in some of those men afterwards, and not some of those men. And what we found out after 27 months, that there was a higher recurrence rate of prostate cancer in men that we weren't giving testosterone to than men that we were giving bioidentical testosterone to. So that was pretty interesting. And these are men that had a high grade of prostate cancer, and we weren't killing them with bioidentical testosterone.